أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي سارا وعيشي كارا ورزقي دارا وأولادي أبرارا واجعلني عند قبر نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقر وقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شأن كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه ماس العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وروة المثقى قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وسلام عليه يوم ولد ويوم يموت ويوم يبعث حيا صدق الله العلي العظيم الله Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to practice the piety and the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited is from Surah Maryam, ayat number 15, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Salamun alayhi yawma wulida wa yawma yamutu wa yawma yub'athu hayya. And peace be upon him the day he was born, and the day he dies, and the day he will be raised alive. Many of the Mufassirin, of course, talk about that this verse is in reference to either Hazrat Isa ibn Maryam, alayhi salatu wassalam, or Hazrat Yahya. But also the implication of this ayat is on Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Hussein ibn Ali, alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala. And the reason is that the wiladat of Sayyid al-Shuhada is blessed. The life of Sayyid al-Shuhada was blessed the shahadat of Sayyid al-Shuhada is blessed. And even when he's raised back after resurrection, where he'll serve as Shafi of mu'mineen and mu'minat, is also blessed. So from that aspect, he fits the criteria of this ayat as well. What I wanted to talk about in today's khutbah is the role of Ashura in preserving Islam. MashaAllah, you've been attending the majalis from the very first day of Ayyam Azam, and non-stop continued presence here is is testimony to your love and your mawaddat to Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, and inshallah the best of the reward is there for you. But of course, we don't come here for the reward, right? Nobody comes to Majlis-e-Azaa because there's some sort of reward that is attached with it. That I'm coming here because there's so and so thawab that is mentioned in book Kamilu Ziyarat, right? Book Kamilu Ziyarat is filled with all the thawab that is mentioned, just weeping and crying and shedding a tear and all those, to that extent. But our intention is not that when we come to this Farshaza is because there's some sort of reward that is attached with it. That there's some sort of, benefit that I'll get out of it, outside of the benefit which is, of course, present and given to you. And we come here because of the love and the mawaddat and the muhabbat. And, of course, showing the promise that we made with the Prophet that Rasulullah had taken this covenant, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. That ajr risalat is that we fulfill this promise and then we pay love and pay dividends toward the family of Rasulullah and the way they were treated in Karbala. That reminds and that tells us that we need to uphold those memories and we should not let them ever go to waste. Similarly, it should be the case when it comes to our other ibadat, because this is also an ibadat. When you stand up for salat, the intention should not be that because I'm praying this salat, remember the qawl of Amirul Mu'mineen, right? He said, I did not worship you. مَا عَبَدْتُكَ طَمْعًا لِلْجَنَّةِ. I didn't worship you because I was, I had greed for Jannah. وَلَا خَوْفًا مِنَ النَّارِ. I didn't worship you because I was fearful of Jahannam. No, I found you to be worthy of worship, so therefore I bowed in front of you and I did sajda in front of you. Similarly, when we come to this Farsha-Azaa, for Majlis-e-Azaa, it's not because there's greed for Jannah that we have, or opposite of it. No, it is because we consider this to be a means of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has given us the opportunity that we're able to shed a tear or two, that for Imam Hussein and his sacrifice that he had given. So the ritual of Azaa of Sayyid al-Shuhada must be repeated every year. And we have discussion regarding this based on this ayat of Quran and also in other places in Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends his salam and salutations on Anbiya. For example, he says, Salamun ala Ibrahim, Salamun ala Musa wa Harun, Salamun ala Ilyasin, and Salamun ala Nuhin fil Alameen. What's the difference between these four? You saw the first three were just Salamun ala Ibrahim or Harun and Musa and Ilyasin. But when it came to Hazrat Nuh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala added another sentence to it. Salamun ala Nuhin fil Alameen. That just shows you the importance that Hazrat Nuh, Abul Bashar al-Thani, that because of him, that the community that was saved, which of course is the community which we are all now part of. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala categorizes Hazrat Nuh, and the greeting is more important, richer and stronger than the greetings of other prophets. So when someone who was able to save the humanity from extinction and save people so that the continuous generations to come later on, that was the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made an effort and said, Salamun ala Nuhin fil alameen. But then if someone who's there to save the humanity of human beings, save the essence of human beings from being extinct, the concept that how that 61st year after Hijrah, how Islam's downfall and the sacrifice where this deen and this religion needed, which the tree of the religion was drying up. It was in need of irrigation, and who provided that irrigation? It was in the form of the sacred blood of Imam Hussein that re-irrigated this deen from going into extinction. So then, does that mean we should not remember Hussein? No, that's why we recite in ziyarat, Assalamu alayka, ya Aba Abdullah, wa ala al-arwahi allati hallat bifinai. And then, alayka minni salamullah, ma baqitu wa baqiya al-laylu wa nahar. That it's not just for today, it's not just for tomorrow, that salutations unto you and the remembrance of you, O Hussein. No, peace and blessings of Allah be upon you from me forever. As long as I'm existent, as long as there's day and night, salutations, O Hussein, until the day and night exist, not just the end of the world. So therefore, Imam Hussein is given the same status in the ziyarat of Masumin. So three things that lead to the acceptance of your ibadah. Let's give example of salat. We're here to pray. You're sitting in a masjid. What gives or what guarantees that your salat is accepted? Number one, hudur qalb, presence of heart. If I'm praying and my mind is wandering around and there's no presence of heart, which of course is the case for many of us, including me, then you think this salat has any, or inshallah we have fulfilled the wajib, but the value of this salat, right? Sort of like example after example, you're there for an important meeting, but you don't have hudur qalb. You're not present. You're physically there, but you're mentally absent. For example, something else has occupied your mind, and now you're sitting in front of this board, and you're having this meeting, but you're missing out on it. You're not making sense of things that you're saying. They're not understanding you. Right away, they'll question, are you okay? Everything okay with you? Guess what? The angels ask us the same question every time we stand up for salat. Are you okay? Because you don't have hudur qalb. You don't have presence of heart. Your mind is absent somewhere else. Are you okay? Is something else bothering you? Has something else occupied your mind? That's why you're absent-minded right here when you're standing in front of Malik al-Jabbar. And so therefore, one of the things that is the reason for acceptance of salat is the presence of heart. When you know what you're saying, when you know who you're standing in front of. If you don't have the presence of heart, which is the case with someone like me, then Masumin mentioned, how do you make your salat accepted? By offering the nafilah. So when you offer the nafilah, Imams also make the dua that, oh Allah, if there was any naqs, any defect in my salat, fulfill it or look over it. And then they also mention, perform the nafilah. What will the nafilah do? It'll bridge the gap. It'll make up for that flaw that you had in your salat. So either have hudur qalb or offer salatul nafilah. So therefore, if you don't have time and the tawfiq of nafilah, and you also don't have hudur qalb, least put your forehead on the dust from Karbala. Sajda on the dust and the khak of Karbala guarantees the acceptance of salat. And therefore, the first two, if they're not there, this third one is there with you in order to go ahead and make the salat to be accepted in the bargah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, Hussein ibn Ali impacted our fiqh as well. The travelers can shorten their prayers, as we read in ayat of Quran, وَإِن ضَرَبْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاهٌ أَن تُقَصِّرُوا or أَن تَقْصُرُوا مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ. That if you are traveling, then it's when you're not journeying on the land, it's nothing upon you if you were to go ahead and shorten your prayers. But if you went to Karbala, you have a choice whether you shorten your prayer or you offer in completion. There's a message in this as well. That our fiqh tells us that 4 places on the earth, you're not a musafir. When you go to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is as if you're home. When you go to the city of Medina, it is as if you're home. When you go to Kufa, as if you're at home. And when you go to Karbala, especially under the dome of Sayyid al-Shuhada, it is as if you're home. Just like how you would treat yourself at home, meaning by praying full, by not making your salat qasr, these places are also there where you're not considered to be musafir. Why? House of Allah reminds you of uluhiyat. House of Nabuwat reminds you of Nabi. House of Masjid-e-Kufa reminds you of the wilayat of Amirul Mu'mineen. And the house of, or the Maqam Karbala of Imam Hussein reminds you of the Shahadat and the wilayat and the Nabuwat and the uluhiyat all combined together in that Qubba of Imam Hussein. And therefore your salat is, you have the choice to either offer full or to make it qasr. Second point that I want to make is Imam gave everything in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. we see that Karbala has all and the companions, all the tragedies that you've heard for the last 12 nights. Zainab said to Imam Sajjad, they killed us, burned the tents, but there will come a time when there will be a dome and a court, and there will be many pilgrims right here. This very place where we are battered around, this very place where our bodies were dropped, this very place where we were made captives, and the tents were burned, and the children were killed. Guess what? There will come a time when this place will be flocked by millions and millions of people, and a dome will be on top over here, and that is the prediction of Bibi Zainab. Imam's work was nothing less than a miracle. If all the leaders of the world today, with all the resources and the energy that they have, got together on a pressing issue and wanted a mega protest and gather as much public as possible, they would have to spend millions of dollars and even force and bribe some people to gather. What Imam Hussein did 14 centuries ago, millions marched in the deserts with their young and old without any of these things. Today, if I wanted to get the community together for some sort of event, I'll have to make tons of phone calls, I'll have to propagate, send out emails, text messages, WhatsApp messages, put it on social media, word of mouth, announce from the Jummah khutbah, and have the announcement and the flyers sent to all the other centers. We're having this mega event. And even then, depends on the interest of the people, how many people show up. Maybe, bahut bada tir maar liya, to I'll have 1,000 people gather. But what Hussein ibn Ali did 14 centuries ago requires no invitation, requires no flyer to be sent out. The moment you hear there's a majlis aza, and then people show that love and affection when comes the time of Arba'een, when millions and millions are getting in line just so that they can be part of the ziyarat of Imam. So therefore, Imam gave everything he had on the day of Ashura. We should also do as much azadari as we can. But our azah should be jami', meaning all-encompassing. Some azadari are comprehensive and some are not. What does it mean that it is jami'? The azah, which has the congregational prayer, tafsir of Quran, explanation of ahadith nabawi, fadail of Ahl Bayt, masaib of Ahl Bayt, marthiyah and matam, nadhr and tabarruk, this is the comprehensive azadari. You have all this, then yes, you have achieved what is considered to be a very comprehensive azan, like you did during the first 10 nights over here as well. You began with salat and you concluded with niyad and everything else that was in between. Number 3, inshallah, I'll conclude with this, crying over the tragedy of Karbala and the captivity of Prophet's family. The first cries are very important. When the war of Uhud ended, the Muslims were martyred. A large number of the mishap and the mistake of some Muslimin not holding their position led to a war that was won to basically a draw. And there were Muslims that mourned and cried and mourned for their martyrs. Once the Prophet said, why does no one mourn for Hamza? He said, lakinna Hamza la bawakiya lahu. People realized then they first mourned for Hazrat Hamza before they mourned for their own shuhada. Because nobody was there to cry for Hazrat Hamza. He was given the title of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Rasul said, how come nobody is weeping for him? So he didn't have any family, so people wept for Hazrat Hamza first before they shed tears for their own loved ones. Imam, our fourth Imam, you heard in the last night as well, would cry every time food and water was brought in front of him. Every time Imam would see the sight of water, see the sight of food, not that I'm using this loosely, that it would haunt him, but Imam would get the memories of, what happened primarily from 7th of Muharram onwards. There was no food, there was no water. So every time food and water would be brought in front of him, Imam would cry. One day a person said to him, how long will you cry, O son of Hussein? He replied, Yaqub had 12 sons. He lost one of them for a few years, didn't die. That person, that his son did not get killed. He lost him. And then Allah returned him back. But he cried so much, Quran said, وَبِيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْحُزْنِ, that he went blind from weeping and from crying. So there was one son who didn't die, went away for some time. They said a wolf ate him. A wolf was a lie. There was no wolf. I lost my father. I lost my uncle, I lost my brothers, gave everything I had, paraded through the streets of Kufa and Sham with the women, and you're asking me, why am I weeping? Why am I crying? Is there anything more deserving of weeping and crying than this? So this crying and mourning are valuable. Don't underestimate it, but of course, while there are other main objectives behind it, but crying and weeping and mourning is also valuable. One of the Maraji Taqleed, he wrote in his wasiyat, he said, whenever I look at my life, I see my whole life is spent studying fiqh, teaching fiqh, studying usul, teaching usul, propagation and the promotion of deen and madhab, but I only rely on the tears for Imam Hussain. He said, this is the confidence that I have in the tears for Imam Hussain that will save me on the day of judgment, more than the confidence that I have for all the propagation and the tabligh and the studies and ulum-e-deen that I worked to present, by which many are benefiting from. So I don't know if any of those things will be any beneficial for me on the day of judgment, but there's one thing that will definitely be beneficial for me, are the tears that I have shed for Sayyid al-Shuhada. So Karbala, fighting against the military in the economic siege. What is the meaning of Karbala now? Well, in today's world, when these superpowers want to attack a country, they attack a region, and there's propaganda against it, with economic blockade, military blockade, with intimidation, threats, and with these tools that we know in modern day. Today's version of the earth is Karbala. A military siege. Karbala was a military siege. 72 people surrounded by 30,000. Is there anything bigger siege than that? But they didn't retreat. They didn't go under the illegal demands of those who were suppressing them. They preferred to go under the horse's hoof, but they did not go under the burden of the force. They took the women and the children captive, but they weren't captured by the demands of Yazidi government. And therefore, there's a difference, what we can learn from those who stood firmly in Karbala. Avoid haram morsel. Imam spoke to these people, tried to bring some sense into their minds. Pesar Saad, Shimr, all these people that Imam spoke to. But he saw that there was no effect of the words of Imam. I've said it many times. Today you hear a hadith and you hear a beautiful kalam of an Imam or Rasulullah. Right away, if it touches your heart, you say, MashaAllah, Subhanallah, comes to your mind or to your tongue. Imam, imagine if Rasul recited that hadith right in front of you. How would that be? Imam is speaking to these people one-on-one, directly. And he's saying these things, which are the words and the kalam of Imam Ma'asum, and in the form of basically a continuation of kalam of Rasulullah. That's why he introduced himself as what? Ana Hussain ibn Fatima bint Rasulullah. He didn't say Ana Hussain ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why? Because he already knew they have come here bughdan li abik, to kill Imam because of the bughz, grudge they had for his father. So he introduces himself as what? I'm the son of Fatima, daughter of Rasulullah. So that there might be some empathy in the hearts of these people. But when they showed no remorse, none whatsoever, Imam ﷺ said, Muliat butunukum min al-haram. The reason you show no remorse for what you have done is because your bellies are filled with haram. So haram morsel leads to people, when they see, they do not take heed. Lastly, why do we curse? Or why do we send the la'an on the killers of Imam Hussain? Why do we say, Allahumma la'an qatalat al-Hussain? Why do we say, Allahumma la'an qatalata amir al-mu'mineen? Why do we send la'an to those who oppressed the family of Rasulullah? 2 ayat, and inshallah, wassalam. Number 1, Surah Ahzab, 57 and 58. It says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Those who harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His apostle, Allah's la'anat be upon them in this world and in the hereafter. وَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا مُهِينًا. And of course, there's adhab which is prepared for them. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ Will someone say, well, this is those who do adhiyah to Allah and His apostle. Where are we when it comes to Imam? There's no mention of Imam over here. We'll read the next ayah. That's why don't always stop at the first. Continue on reading. It says, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ والذين يؤذون المؤمنين والمؤمنات بغير ما اكتسبوا فقد احتملوا بهتانا وإثما مبينا. And similarly, the way those who did adiyah to Allah and His Apostle, those who harm mu'mineen and mu'minat without reason will bear the sin for a false accusation, a manifest offense that is written for them. So here we understand that if regular mu'mineen and mu'minat are harmed in any way without anything that they have done for, there's a la'anat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon them. This is not an ordinary mu'min and mu'minah. This is Amirul Mu'mineen. This is the Imam of Muttaqeen. This is the leader of mankind. And therefore, if someone does adiyat to him, if someone harms him, you think the la'anat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be upon them. And similarly, Surah Nisa 93, وَالَّذِينَ وَمَنْ يَقْتُلْ مُؤْمِنًا مُتَعَمِّدًا فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمَ خالداً فيها. That whoever, kills a mu'min, takes the life of a mu'min, muta'ammidan, on purpose. What is their jaza? Their jaza is that they will be presented and entered into Jahannam forever. So that is the reason why we send salutations to Imam Hussein and his family and his companions, and we show bara'at to those who are against Imam Hussein and the enemies of Sayyid al-Shuhada. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He raises us amongst those who are the lovers and the followers of Imam Hussein. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He keeps us away from those who are the followers and the lovers of Yazid and Muawiyah. Inna asal hadith wa ablagh al-mu'idha kitabullahi wa billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته وغضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وعفى عن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معصية العباد إلا كرما وجودا ولا كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصفحا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو لطوف على العباد بجوده والأبعاد المظلمين بحلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين على قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا لصفي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة النساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء ولي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم ابنة الشرك والنفاق حاسد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو في الدرجات اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين اللهم ممن يذكر فتنفذ ذكره إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة. قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمد رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر. ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Let's recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is Mr. and Mrs. Heather and Urusa Ali. Please recite Surah Fatiha for their deceased relatives as well as your Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawm al-Din. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Just a quick update on the upcoming programs. Inshallah, this weekend we don't have majalis here in Masjid-e-Ali, but tomorrow, Saturday, July 20th, there's a special community Q&A with Dr. Ali al-Hilli, inshallah. Program will start with Salat al-Zuhrain at 1:04, followed by Q&A. You're requested to attend this program with family and friends. I don't know if there's no age restriction, so bring everyone, inshallah. Take advantage of our visiting scholar, and I'll take this opportunity to also thank him personally and on behalf of the community for having been with us for the past 12 nights, bestowing upon youth and community at large his knowledge, imparting his knowledge, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his continued health and tawfiqat and increase in tawfiqat, and inshallah we look forward to having him here once again. So as we said, bid farewell to him. We welcome his brother, Sheikh Ali, inshallah, who will be joining us for the next series of majalis that will be commemorating the shahadat of our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam. That series of majalis will start July 31st and will run through August 3rd. And the program timing, inshallah, will be sent out. Programs will start with Salatul Maghrib. Maghrib will be slightly earlier at that time, around 8:30. So do look out for the announcements at that time. Also, Sadiq School has a couple of camps that are programs that are underway already. One is the Early Childhood Education Summer Camp, which began earlier this month, end of the last month and earlier this month, and is continuing. You can still take part in it. Also, the summer camp for older children is also ongoing. A couple of weeks have already passed, but I guess people can still join if they wanted to for the remaining weeks that are there. And also, we are registering children for the next academic year, 2024 and 2025. So please use this opportunity, use this facility, and bring your children, your grandchildren, recommend people, and inshallah we'll see the success as already is bearing fruits with the younger kids when the children speak about how much impact the Islamic school has made in their lives as opposed to sending kids to public schools. So we need your support in that regard, inshallah. Lastly, let's recite Dua Sihat for all of those people who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, going through difficult time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove all the difficulties from them, alleviate all the problems that they have, give them swift recovery for those who are sick, inshallah. Let's recite this ayah karima from Surah Namal together 5 times. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Let's proceed to Salatul Asr. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام، وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل خاضع فقير بائس مسكين مستكين مستجير، لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع، ومن قلب لا يخشع، ومن علم لا ينفع، ومن صلاة لا ترفع، ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر، والفرج بعد الكرب، والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك، لا إله إلا أنت. أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
متوجه زيارة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم يا أهل البيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أشهد أنك قد قمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر والعدوان وأطعت الله وما عصيت وتمسكت به فأرضيته وخشيته وراقبته واستحيته وسننت سنن وأطفأت الفتن ودعوت الإرشاد وزكت سبل الرشاد سبل السداد وجاهدت في الله حق الجهاد وكنت لله طائعا وجدك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم بحرمة هذا المكان المنيف صل على محمد وآل محمد وارشرني في زمرته وادخل الجنة بشفاعتهم. اللهم إني أتوسل إليك يا أسرع الحاسبين ويا أكرم الحاكمين يا أكرم الأكرمين يا أكرم الحاكمين رشيد الشيام ظاهر الكرم متهجدا في الكرم. اللهم إني أتوسل إليك يا أسرع الحاسبين يا أكرم الأكرمين ويا أحكم الحاكمين بمحمد خاتم النبيين رسولك العالمين أجمعين، بأخيك الأنزل البتين العالم المكين علي أمير المؤمنين व बिफ़ातिमत सय्यद निसाइल आलमीन व बिल हसन ज़की इस्मतल मुत्तकीन व अबी अब्दुल्लाह अकरमिल मुस्तशहीदीन व बि औलादिल मक़तूलीन व बि इतरतिल मज़लूमीन व बि अली इब्न हुसैन ज़ैनुल आबिदीन व बि मुहम्मद इब्न अली क़िबलतिल अव्वाबीन व बि जाफ़र इब्न मुहम्मदिन अस्दक़स सादिक़ीन व बि मूसा इब्न जाफ़र मज़रल बराहीन व अली इब्न मूसा नासिरुद्दीन व बि मुहम्मद इब्न अली क़ुदवतिल मुहतदीन व अली इब्न मुहम्मद अज़हदज़ ज़ाहिदीन व बिल हसन इब्न अली वारिसिल मुस्तफ़ीन। अस्सलाम अलैकुम साहिबिल अस्र व ज़मान या खलीफ़तुर रहमान या मज़ल ईमान या तफ़सीरुल कुरआन। अस्सलाम अलैकुम या शरीकल कुरआन। अस्सलाम अलैकुम या इमाम ज़मानना अज्जलल्लाहु फ़रजक व सहलल्लाहु मरजक व